Hello! It's been over a month since the last time I posted. For those of you who did not see my text post that I posted on here on my community tab, we had a little family health emergency. Everyone's okay, everyone's fine. We're not quite through the woods yet, but everyone's good and that's what's important. Thank you guys so much. So many of you left the loveliest, kindest comments on that post. Just thank you all so much. You guys are just the best. If you guys like this type of video, then I definitely will make this into like a series that I pick up on every once in a blue moon, every couple of months. And that is to make pieces for my wardrobe that are inspired by things I've seen on Pinterest. I do a styling version of that video. I've done it several times. I really love it. A lot of you guys really like it. So I thought, why not do a sewing version of it where I take things that I see on Pinterest and I make my own version, usually with like thrifted, sustainable fabric sources. And for the first one, I've actually been working on this for a while, and I thought that now would be the actual perfect time to start on the project, and that is a patchwork skirt. I have seen so many different versions of this, and I think it just gives off the most like cozy art teacher vibes, that is exactly where I wish to live, is in that aesthetic. And I have a lot of scrap fabric that I didn't have quite enough to make a full other project, but I didn't want to throw it away either because I felt like there was a little too much to either like chop it up and make it into filling for a future project, pillows, or like I kind of want to make my own dress form for myself. So I thought, why not make them into a patchwork skirt? And then it can also just be like a living memory of all the things I've made over the past year or so on this channel. I thought that'd be really fun. This went through a ton of different changes. I kind of just started on it and my design ended up taking a lot longer than I thought it would because it just kept changing. So in this episode, you're going to see how I figured out what I wanted the patchwork fabric to look like. And then in the next video, we're actually going to put the skirt together. Now let's get on to the project. So first off, I guess we'll start with a little montage of some of the fabrics I ended up using in the skirt. I started cutting out squares in like October of last year. I have some squares from my leftover fabric from that red and brown dress I made for my fall wardrobe video, which I'm using as kind of a guide for my leftover fabric from my plaid pants. I've actually used this one in 3 different projects now, so that's kind of cool. I went through my fabric stash and found some more leftovers that I didn't think I could make any full projects out of and cut those into squares as well. As you can see at this point, I was making them into all different sizes because I was thinking of going more off of this specific inspo picture. You set a fire in the pines in the dead of the night to see the fury and wonder and fight back the disquiet. Then I had a good amount of leftover fabric from my top, skirt, and dress from my spring wardrobe videos, and I believe those are the most recent fabrics I used. Genius at work is a wonderful sight to behold. You were quoting your pain on the meaning of life. Pain is the author of too many stories we've told. Torn apart by horses, we have always been at war with time. A river changing courses cannot bid itself farewell, have mercy on us. It was all too profound, yet not profound enough. Why tell ugly truths when a beautiful lie will suffice? You can write all this down, cursed be love. It'll get what it wants when it has no regard for the prize. Torn apart by horses, we have always been at war. So I think I figured out in what order I'm gonna do this. Originally, I was gonna make this into like one long length of fabric, like you would when you get fabric in a fabric store or like a bed sheet or anything. I think the better way to do this is to go by pattern piece, and this was a lot wider than I thought it was gonna be, but two things. This is the Darcy skirt by Maria Juterud. That I probably did not pronounce that correctly, sorry. But I'm gonna take, so there is a length of, there's a gathered length at the end, like another 8 or 10 inches down here. And I think that will be heavy, I think, with the like quilting and putting all these pieces together. So instead, I think I'm just gonna add like 10 inches to the bottom of these pattern pieces, and then it will just be one length. I think that will make it a little light, because that's what I'm scared of. I'm scared of that once I put all these pieces together, they'll be like heavier fabric basically once they're put together. Today, what I'm gonna try to do is just plan them out, like put them on this table, make them all look nice, make them all look cohesive, and then we will sew all those pieces together. But yeah, today we're just going to pre-plan and like pin all the squares together that I'm going to put together and sew on another day. Also, I had to change my shirt. This is the same day. I ate pimento cheese for lunch and got it all over my shirt. But let's continue. So because this is a ton of pieces without any edge finishing, I pulled out one of my overlocking presser feet, and I chose a stitch that both had the zigzag and the straight stitch together, so they could both be done at the same time, and the seam allowance is going to be about 3/8 of an inch. So I probably should have watched a couple of quilters before starting this part of the process, but I am the queen of, if I do any research, I might not want to get started, so let's just do it. And so I had a lot of difficulty matching these mismatched pieces with all of the different sizes. My brain couldn't find the best way to tackle this, but I did my best. So this is now a couple of weeks later, and I decided that I hated everything I had done up to this point. I don't know, I just felt like with all the different fabrics and also having them be different size squares and rectangles was just too much and it wasn't working for me. So I decided to go back in and cut all of these different size squares and make them into all the same size, about 4 inches each. Now, the stuff that's left over from this part is definitely going to be made into filling for stuff like pillows, like I said earlier, but I was so much happier with this. Also, we were in a different room that day for caregiving reasons. You're going to be seeing me in a lot of different rooms for the next bit of time. The craft room is being used for another reason at the moment. We'll be back there eventually, but for right now, we'll be in a couple of different rooms. I also used the pieces I had sewn together, and instead of taking out the seams, which is basically impossible due to the stitch that I picked, I just cut 2 pieces at a time out together. Okay, so by this point, I'd done a bit more searching on Pinterest, and I think my favorite type of patchwork was when the fabric basically put squares into cohesive sets of squares, if that makes sense. It just helped the fabric look more cohesive. I already said that. So it was time to make these larger squares for the entire day. I finally remembered it would probably be easier to separate by pattern instead of keeping all the squares in one big heap. So by the end, I had made 32 squares, and I had 30 nice ones and 2 made from just the leftovers, which means that I stitched together 288 tiny squares, and I felt every single one of those. So then I realized that I probably didn't have enough squares to make the very voluminous skirt that I was originally wanting to make. Now, I still love that skirt, I'm just gonna have to use it another time. So instead, I'm going with a slimmer cut wrap skirt called the Jill Wrap Skirt. I have actually been wanting to make this skirt for a bit, so I was really excited to finally get to try it out. And as some of you already know from my spring wardrobe videos, I love a wrap skirt. I didn't want to make the mini or maxi version of this skirt, but the not so secret third thing, which is a midi length. So once I cut it out, I took about 4 inches off the bottom of the pattern pieces to conserve as much fabric as possible. After ironing, it was time to start sewing these squares together. I had already laid out the squares in a way that the pattern pieces would fit perfectly on, and you'll get to see how well they fit in the next video. So I was basically making 2 different lengths of fabric. And now that all those are put together, I can show you what the fabric pieces look like. I made just enough squares. In fact, when I was putting the big pieces together, I actually had to make 1 more square. So that's why earlier I said I had 32 squares, even though if you counted, it was only 31 at the time. So I needed 32 squares to complete 2 swaths of fabric. There's a slightly bigger one for the 2 front panels, and then it was a slightly skinnier piece for the back panel. And then for the tie, because this is going to be a wrap skirt, I have some of those fabrics that have a little bit more left over that I can, I think, use for the tie, I think. So the fabric is done. I think it looks really, really cool. I am so excited to get started on sewing the skirt, and that will be my next video that I post will be actually sewing the skirt together. But thank you so much for hanging out with me. I had a really fun time working on this. This is just a really unique project. I've never worked on anything like this before. But if you like this video, be sure to subscribe. Liking and commenting also really helped me out too. I hope you had a really fun time watching, and I hope to see you back here next time. Bye.